So hello everyone, I am so excited to give you a little tour of my newest project, the Fantastic Logo Creator, and thanks so much for your purchase. So when you open your download folder, this is what you're going to see. We've got 4 basic categories of different stuff that you're going to get, because it's a lot. So first we've got the elements, and these are just regular vectors in 3 different formats. We've got them for Illustrator and Photoshop, and these are all individual layers in Photoshop. And I've also got these PNG files, which are not vectors, but these are for those of you who are not using Adobe products. So you've got all of these in high resolution as well. Then you've got the fonts. So once again, 3 different formats, but it's all the same thing in each of these folders. The web fonts you don't need to worry about unless you're a programmer or something like that. And then I've got OTF and TTF, and you probably should not need the TTF either. I would suggest trying to go with the OTF unless you need the TTF for any reason. So we've got all the fonts in here. Audrey has got 2 different styles, and Handy does as well, regular and bold. And you should be able to go ahead and just install all of these fonts very quickly from the same folder here. And I would definitely recommend that you, before you try to open up the logos or anything like that, you should definitely install the fonts first. Otherwise the logos won't work properly if you have not installed the fonts. So go ahead and do that. And so after you've done that, you should be able to access the logos. Once again, 2 different formats. And there's 3 different sheets of logos. And you'll notice that there are 2 different versions of each one. We've got the no texture, so these are just plain black and white with a little pink thrown in. And you can just easily just go in there and change the colors and you're done. Or you can use this to add more effects on top with the textures, and I'll show you that in a moment. But in addition to that just basic template, I've also got the logos with textures. So these are files that I have added textures that I think look good to each of these, and you'll notice I don't really have a lot of different ones on here. I've chosen about 5 per file. And then repeated them throughout the different logos, because otherwise these files might have gotten really big in size. I usually recommend that people don't use more than about 5 of these styles per document. Otherwise it can get to pretty big file sizes. So anyway, so what I've done here is I've just added some textures to give you some inspiration. You can use these straight up, just change the text to whatever you want, or you can tweak them however you like. These are all for your convenience. So you've got these in both Illustrator and Photoshop. So you can use the program of your choice for that. And there are actually a lot of the other programs that I hear about people using that are free, or Affinity Designer, all of these are able to open either an Illustrator file or a Photoshop file. So these are not confined to only Photoshop and Illustrator. You should be able to use them in a lot of different programs. And if you have a specific file type that you need, if you're not able to open either one of those, like you need an EPS for instance, you can send me a message and I'll be happy to provide that for you. So that's the logos. And then you've got the very, very many textures. If you know me, you know that I tend to go overboard with textures, and I definitely have this time. But I hope that you can use them. I hope that you like them. I've provided a whole lot of different colors, and these within your download file are the JPEG textures. These are all 1800 by 1800 pixels, and you can use these in any software, that can handle an image. And a lot of programs are able to use seamless JPEG images and turn them into a pattern. So if you have some favorites here, If you Google it, I'm pretty sure that a lot of the different sort of software programs that other than Adobe programs are also able to do this. So anyway, you are probably, when you open this and you see the textures, you're probably wondering, where are the Illustrator and Photoshop styles? And do not panic. They are actually a separate download, as I've also mentioned in the product page. And this is the only reason for this is because there is a 1 gigabyte upload limit on Creative Market. So in order to keep the file under that size, I needed to include the Photoshop styles and the Illustrator swatches as a separate download on Dropbox. So all you have to do is just double click this PDF here, and you will find the links there. 2 different download links, one for Illustrator, one for Photoshop, and you can download them both, or you can just choose whichever one you need, or you can just use the JPEGs. It's totally up to you. But once you have downloaded those, then this is what you will have. You'll have your Illustrator swatches and your Photoshop styles, and I just want to give you a brief overview of how to work with those. So for the Illustrator swatches, these look like regular AI files, but they are not. They are swatch libraries. So it's important to remember that, because when you open them, you will get a blank artboard, and that is totally fine. Do not panic. That's exactly as it should be. These are not files that have something on the artboard. These are libraries of swatches. And you'll notice I've got my swatches open already, and you can see all of the swatches over here. But if I did not have that open, the way to open it would be go to Window, Swatches, and you see mine is checked. So if yours is not checked, you just go in there and you check that, and then you should be able to see that there are swatches over here. And then what you can do is you can apply them to things on your artboard. However, you certainly can double click the file and open it like this and then put something on your artboard and put a texture on it. However, I don't suggest doing it that way. I suggest using your own document, or the logos for instance, and then loading whatever you need of the swatches, so that way you can have a couple different ones open at once. So all you got to do, so all you've got to do, once you've got your swatches window open in whatever document you're using, just go over here to this menu, click it, open swatch library, other library, and then you just go and you find your swatches. So mine are right here, and they're just going to be in your download folder, or if you've moved it to somewhere else on your computer, you just need to find the place where you have saved these swatches that you just downloaded from Dropbox. So, and then you can go in here and you can just choose whichever one you want, and it might take just a minute to open, and it's not a problem. Okay, so then you get this nice little pop-up here, and you can open several at a time, and you're going to get a bunch of tabs here, and that's totally fine. So when you want to use these, essentially all that you need to do is select the item that you want to transform, and then click the swatch. However, I'm going to undo that, because what I want you to be aware of is that you should ungroup items that are grouped together before clicking on the swatches. So these logos are all grouped together. So what you can do is Command-Shift-G or Control-Shift-G on a Windows, and then you have individual elements. And even if you want to color them all the same color, I recommend ungrouping first, because otherwise Illustrator can cause a hugely massive file from clicking these swatches on grouped items. I'm not really sure why, but I've just noticed that happens, so I don't suggest that. So ungroup, and then if you're applying it to the whole thing, just select everything, and then you can click around on the swatches. Or for instance, if you want just the text to be a different, for instance, these are all white, so it's kind of not looking very good, but I'm just showing you how to do it. So basically, yeah, if you like how that looks, you group it up again. And that's it. So something also that you can do to keep your file sizes small, and I might actually just make an entire video about this, However, just another one of my top tips for keeping a small file size is that if you notice when you're clicking around on here, all of them are going into here. So everything I clicked on goes down here. And that can be a problem when you save the file. It's going to save all of this in the file even though you're not actually using it. So before saving, when you've been working with these swatches, I suggest always running an action. I've got my actions palette open here. It's in the default actions in all versions of Illustrator as far as I'm aware, and it's called delete unused panel items. And this is an absolute lifesaver for when you're working with these textures. So anytime you're saving the file, I would suggest running this. And you see it just deletes all of that, and you go back here and only the ones that are being used are saved within the file. So that's a really easy way to keep your files small. And that is about, oh yeah, also I wanted to show you how to manipulate the textures. So for instance, on a lot of these, I have taken them down to 50% scaling just because I think it looks really textured and good that way. So I just want to show you how I did that. So I'm going to ungroup again actually and just select this guy here, and then I'm going to go to Object, Transform. And you can do any of these things with only the pattern, not the entire object. So if you want to move it around to see a different side of the texture, for instance, you can do it there. Or scale, this is the one that I use the most, and you can see it says 100% here. And then down here you've got transform objects and transform patterns, and if you only want to mess around with the pattern and not the actual object, just uncheck that and click preview. And for instance, if I wanted to take this down to 50%, then you can see it gives it much more of a, you know, textured look there. So you can totally manipulate this and a lot of other things using that transform command without transform object being clicked. So that is what I wanted to show you here in Illustrator. And you also have the Photoshop styles. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that. With these ones, do not double click. You'll need to load them within Photoshop, so I'll just show you how to do that. So actually, let me just open up the logos so I can show you. Yeah. Okay, so here's the logos. And if this was not open, this is my styles palette, and this is where you're going to find the textures. And if that was not open, I would just have to go to Window, Styles to open that. So that's super easy. And then once that is open, click the menu in the right again and load styles. Once again, just navigate in your file system to the place where you have downloaded these Photoshop styles, these ASL files, and you just pick one of them and open it. And there you go. You have all of your styles over here, and you can mess around with your view. If you have a list, you can view them as icons if you want, for instance, as thumbnails. You can load as many as you want in here at the same time. So all you have to do is find a logo that you want to transform, for instance, and you don't need to worry about grouping or anything like that in Photoshop. And then here, let me just show you what's going on here. You can just choose different styles and apply them. And super easy. And if you want to manipulate this, for instance, on your layers panel down here, once you have clicked one of these, you will find a pattern overlay in your layers palette. So double click that, and then you might want to move it out of the way so you can see what you're doing. And you'll see that the pattern is right here. This is the pattern overlay. And when you have this one open, all you have to do if you want to change to move it around is just click and drag, and then you can just change it to however you want. And you can also scale it right here where it says scale and manipulate it that way. And if you want to change the color, that's also very easy. just go down here and add a color overlay. And for instance, let's say we want it to be hot pink. And so, okay, you just see the regular color there, but then you change this one, blend mode, to color. Voila, you have pink foil, if that's what you like. So, very simple and easy to use here in Photoshop. And that basically concludes the tour of this product. And please let me know, send me a message. If you need any help at all, I'm very happy to help. I'll even make you a video if I need to. I'm very happy to help and I'm very happy to teach. So please let me know if there's anything I can do, and I really hope you enjoy it. And if you appreciate the video, then I would love to have a thumbs up on the product page. Once again, thank you for your purchase, and happy designing.